affects your child's brain, body, and soul. Okay, so how can gardening affect a child's brain?
Wait,
Well,
I thought we were talking about the
Oh,
garlic.
we're going to talk about the garlic.
I'm
I
like,
totally
man,
forgot.
I want to hear that story.
I totally forgot about the garlic. Thank you
okay.
for reminding me. See how absent? I'm like the absent-minded professor.
You're like, man, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the garlic story first.
Okay, yeah. So listening to Cassie, when we went to break, I was telling you guys about how I've been fermenting garlic over the past couple months. So the theory behind this is that garlic, you guys probably know, is antibacterial, has antibacterial.
Garlic is everything.
Yeah.
I'm Italian.
Garlic
okay.
is amazing. Pretty much garlic, it's like in that My Greek Wedding, it's like the Windex.
It is.
Yeah. So
Except
garlic
better,
is
'cause it's
but
Italian.
Better, yeah. So so fermenting garlic, what you do is you get an organic garlic. It needs to be organic because you don't want the pesticides to have killed the bacteria that'll be on it naturally, like Cassie was talking about. So you get a raw garlic, you peel it, and you put it in a mason jar, and you need to get a plastic lid because metal can't touch the mixture. I don't know why, but
I
it
used
just
to know that,
yeah.
but I've forgotten why.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a reason for
There's
it.
a reason, and I don't know why. So, but you can get a plastic mason jar lid. Easy. So I got some plastic mason jar lids. I had some mason jars, and then you get raw honey. So the mixture is you fill the mason jar like half to 3/4 full with peeled organic garlic, and then you fill it with raw honey. And then what happens is that garlic.
Like, what's the ratio? We're gonna. You know what? Can we keep going?
Yeah.
But can we put this in our
out.
newsletter?
Yeah.
And our social media
yes,
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I sent y'all a picture. So you cover the garlic with the honey. So you can do whatever you want, but I did, whatever I thought my kids were going to eat over a certain period of time. And you cover it with honey. And then what happens is it starts to ferment. So you'll start to see bubbles forming in the mixture, and you have to burp your little mason jar every day.
Or it'll explode.
Yeah, because the gas builds up. So, and you want to stir it. So I stirred mine with wooden chopsticks. You don't want to use metal again. Or you can just kind of like flip it over. Like I would flip it over and flip it back.
Roll it.
Yep, that's what I would do. And so the point is that eventually what will happen is after the fermentation takes place, the garlic will it will mellow out, and it gets really
Mellow
soft.
in flavor?
In flavor, yeah.
Okay.
Because it gets sort of absorbed into the honey. So you've also got like a garlic honey, which you could use to cook with. But the garlic gets mellow and gummy, and then what you do is you eat them. You can eat them as a preventative measure on a daily basis, or if you start to feel like you're coming down with something, then you eat one as well. So it's awesome to start one of these like in the fall as you're approaching cold and flu season. And then
I love garlic. I love to roast garlic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is like a piece of, they used to sell this at Pete's, a dancing marlin. It's an appetizer they used to have. It's here in Dallas for all you out there listening. In Houston and California. It was like marbled rye toast.
Oh, wow.
Just slightly grilled with roasted garlic served on the side and just a little bit of feta cheese. And I'm telling you, if you eat too much of it, you will smell like garlic. But gosh, is it delicious.
Do you know
the
metal?
metal thing? Yeah, it says as things ferment, the acidity level becomes lower, which means it's more acidic. And the more metals will corrode and leach into your ferment.
Well, have you ever made lasagna or anything and tried to cover it with aluminum foil without using parchment paper?
Yeah.
And
It starts corroding,
it starts
right?
to corroding.
Yeah.
There's corrosion on top. Like it'll turn green and start corroding. So that's why whenever you wrap anything like with tomato sauce, you always want to put parchment paper over it instead of aluminum foil.
Yeah. That's great to know. So so plastic.
Look at us. We're like Martha Stewart.
We're good. We are so good. Anyway, so it's a really awesome home remedy. And going back to Cassie's topic with fermented foods, I thought it was an interesting addition to what she talked
and we'll
about,
put it out there. It is interesting, and so many mothers need to know about healthy alternatives like that.
Yeah.
By doing things like that without calling the doctor and have their child being put on prescription medicine. Number one on that list, antibiotics, which can affect your immune system for up to 2 years after you finish that round of antibiotics. So you only want to use it in extreme conditions, not just for a common cold or something like that.
Right.
So let's talk about this. Gardening with your kids, how it affects your bodies or your child's brain, body, and soul. So I'm more curious about the soul, but let's start with the brain.
Yeah. So the brain goes back to what we touched on a little bit, just from the curiosity standpoint. It really gets them thinking about science and how things really work in the world, and it's a really great visual representation and hands-on. So there's been studies that have shown that kids that actually do gardening and that work in these types of really hands-on environments score higher in scientific tests. So
absolutely,
that's a really great way to.
Well, that's what they do, and I talked about this yesterday. Montessori school is huge on gardening.
Yes.
They start them planting things at 3 years old. By the 5th grade, they are master junior gardeners in a legit Montessori school.
Yeah, it's awesome. And my daughter, actually, their elementary school, they have one of the best gardens in the city, and they have chickens. They've got a chicken coop, and they garden, and then they have a salad bar in their through their lunch line, and they get to eat. They get to eat what they've grown, and then they donate the rest of it to the North Texas Food Bank. And
love it.
It's such a great. I mean, it's all aspects of it. And that's kind of what I was going to talk about here. Like even teaching your kid, like growing foods that your kids can eat for snacks. Making a snack garden, and then they can harvest them and wash them and eat them for snacks, or they can do a little produce sale in the neighborhood instead of a lemonade stand. They can do like a little produce sale. Teach them about the entire. There's like the growth and then the sales. There's like it's such a fun way to get them engaged in what they're doing.
I'm having throwback memories of going shopping for tomatoes with my grandmother.
Yeah,
at the A&P store. I swear to God, it used to take her 30 minutes to pick out a bag of tomatoes. We're going back a few years.
You got to get the right one.
Well, yeah, and because it is important. And back then, things were organic. We didn't have to worry about it. And again, we were much healthier then.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure all this innovation is worth it when it comes to our health.
Right.
But there's so much food waste in this country.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It's off the charts. And there's so many people in the world starving. We have to get better at organizing our food.
Yes. So this is a really great one. And I don't know if you've heard of this company, but it's called Imperfect Produce.
Absolutely, I have. I love it.
I love it. And so we've been getting boxes of that as well, which I think is fantastic. And my kids love looking at how different things are.
Yeah.
And I think it teaches them also, like, we've had conversations about, like, okay, look at this carrot. And even though this carrot might be ugly, when we cut it up and we, like, it's the same on the inside. So there's, like, all these life lessons about not judging a book by its cover and how this could be thrown away and how it could still feed people. I mean, I just love that sort of idea. And it could be applied in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely it can. And who are we to waste food?
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised where that was that's a mortal sin.
Yeah.
And the cat, it's like a really bad sin to waste food.
Yeah. I mean, and just because cosmetically it doesn't meet the standards that some person has set for some grocery store.
Right.
It's like, well,
and it's a form of entitlement, too.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is, if you think about it.
Yes, yeah.
It's very entitled.
Most of the pretty red apples, they're genetically modified. They're sprayed to look like that anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and they're not healthy.
Look at the real fruits and vegetables out there.
Yeah.
You could say that about humans.
Yeah. That's probably right.
When they're sprayed, they're not as healthy.
Yeah. Or injected.
Oh, my gosh. Well, hey, we all do certain things, but I do think there's a balance. You can get carried away.
That's right.
With anything.
It's moderation in all things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're almost out of time. But, okay, so their soul. What about their soul? What does it do to children's souls?
Yeah, so back to their soul, it's like really great with connection. Like when you're working with them, there's really meaningful connection. It promotes communication skills. It promotes planning and purpose and responsibility. So it really just instills in them a lot of responsibility and ownership for what they're doing, which is huge. Which is huge for kids.
Well, I'm going right to the nursery or wherever you go. Nursery. I'm going to go get some organic dirt and some seeds. And
get your hands dirty.
I'm going to get my hands dirty over the weekend. I really am. It does feel good. I told you the watermelon story. I'll never forget it. That little watermelon gave me so much pleasure. Oh, my goodness. Everyone, Stephanie, thank you so much for being in studio today. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. You get one body, you get one mind, and we get one world. So get out there and help us make the most of it.